Good afternoon. And welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, October 1, 2019. I am John Hutchings, the chair of the board, and to my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards, the vice chair. To my right is Commissioner Ty Menser. To his right is the clerk of the board, La Bonita Bomar. And to her right is County Manager Ramiro Chavez. There you go. Who's sitting all alone on the bench. And so with that, I would like to please ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Edwards or someone else he's chosen.
And I, in turn, would like to have John Sussman run that, lead us in the pledge, please, sir.
Present arms. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow, thank you, sir. Thank you, John. Hey, looking for a motion to approve today's agenda.
And I would so move to approve the agenda for October 1st, 2019. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve today's agenda. Any amendments or changes?
No, sir.
Nope. All right. All in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. We have an agenda. And now it takes us to presentations, and the first one is Emergency Services presentation of a proclamation for Thurston County Flood Awareness Week. And we happen to have the Emergency Services Director, Kurt Harden, here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services for Thurston County. Coming up here to talk about requesting a proclamation for Flood Awareness Week. October is a busy month. We have NOAA radio awareness, we have the Great Shakeout, and we have Thurston County Flood Awareness Week. This is part of the month where we are getting ready for our winter campaign, our winter preparedness. One of the things we do is we ask people to sign up for Thurston Community Alert, TC Alert. And if they haven't already done so or don't know how to do so, they can contact Sonia Croce at our office. Her number is 360-867-2817, or they can go to our website at www.co.thurston.wa.us/EM. And what TC Alert does is it allows people to opt in to getting notifications for various weather alerts, evacuations, or other disaster-related news or emergencies that they may want to know about happening in and around their neighborhood. The activities this month also include, in addition to Flood Awareness Week, we have on October 17th at 10:17, the Great Shakeout. We have October 15th, Map Your Neighborhood at the ECC out on Tilley Road. October 21st, we have the Fall Winter Preparedness with the National Weather Service and Puget Sound Energy coming in and talking to us about getting ready for the upcoming winter storm season. And then October 21st, we have our monthly Faith Communities meeting. Part of all this, and the reason we do Flood Awareness Week, is it ties into what we do with Community Rating System, and Emergency Management supports CPED's staff in working the Community Rating System. And so the county works hard to achieve a very high score on the National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System. Our high score means that Thurston County property owners, on average, in 2018, saved $570 per flood policy on their insurance premiums. That equates to about $140,000 a year for citizens that are in the special flood hazard area. CPED also offers a service to citizens to help determine the appropriate flood protection levels for their property, including flood vents, home elevation, heating equipment, appliances, and electrical panels. County staff, CPED staff, can be reached at 360-867-2123 to schedule a time to visit your property. And citizens can also ensure stormwater facilities are most effective by keeping their drains near their property free of leaves, yard waste, and debris. And we also, please do not sweep or hose. We ask citizens to do not sweep or hose their materials in the street or gutters. So all during this month, it's not just Flood Preparedness Week, but it's also the month for getting ready for our winter storm season and having citizens and encouraging people to take those protective measures to minimize or mitigate flooding around their homes. So with that, I would ask you to issue a proclamation or sign a proclamation for Flood Awareness Week.
Any questions or comments of Kurt?
Can you tell folks what the Great Shakeout is?
The Great Shakeout is a national event, and what it does is people sign up for it, and it covers a number of states where people at 10:17 in the morning drop, cover, and hold in reaction to a seismic event. And so it shows is our training to drop. So you drop to the floor, cover, get underneath the cover. In this room, I would go underneath the chairs because our tables are down, and then hold on until the shaking stops.
Questions or comments?
No, sir, I'm ready to roll.
Ready.
I've got a
Go
proclamation
ahead.
here. Thurston County Flood Awareness Week. Whereas Thurston County has experienced disasters in the past and scientific evidence indicates the county remains vulnerable to natural and human-caused disasters in the future, and whereas loss of life and property damage can be significantly reduced if citizens are prepared for disasters, including readiness to be self-sufficient for a minimum of 2 weeks, and take appropriate measures before, during, and after a disaster. And whereas floods are the most prevalent natural hazard in Thurston County, with 18 federal disaster declarations since 1962 related wholly or in part to flooding, and whereas the citizens of our county should be educated and prepared for flood safety and property protection measures, and county agencies along with employees should be prepared to provide essential public services after disasters and be prepared to support the county's response and recovery mission. And whereas Thurston County's top-rated floodplain management programs have helped reduce flood damage and encourage property owners and residents in flood hazard areas to obtain reduced flood insurance to be better prepared financially in case of flooding. And whereas Thurston County promotes that citizens obtain disaster-related information through the county's alert notification system, fact sheets, training, the annual Thurston County Flood Bulletin, the county website, and social media sites, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, NOAA, weather radio, which includes emergency alert system broadcasts. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Thurston County Commissioners hereby proclaims the week of October 14th, 2019 as Flood Awareness Week in Thurston County, and urges all citizens to take steps to prepare for the impacts of natural and human-caused disasters in their homes, businesses, and schools, adopted this first day of October 2019, signed by the Board of County Commissioners.
Boy, it's official now. Ready for a picture?
Yes, sir.
There you go, Kurt. Get up in here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Next presentation is a proclamation, Walk to School Month. And we have Program Manager Chris Hawkins here. Hi, Chris.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Chris Hawkins. I'm a Program Manager with the Public Health and Social Services Department for Thurston County. And I'm here today to request a proclamation in recognition of Walk to School Month here in Thurston County and really happening around the country. I wanted to just start off by saying that part of prevention is a comprehensive approach that creates or enhances opportunities and community conditions that make healthy choices easier, and that's what we try to do with this proclamation and with our Safe Routes to School efforts. In the case of Walk to School Month, that's so that people have the opportunity to be physically active in our community. Safe Routes to School efforts are comprehensive in that they emphasize education and encouragement, but also look at environmental conditions and also evaluate those conditions and plan for engineering improvements. As public health, we don't do engineering per se. We work a lot with partners to accomplish Safe Routes to School efforts. So it's a broad partnership that delivers this so that families and children in our community have the opportunity to walk to school, be more physically active as part of their day, And it prevents injuries. So we're also trying to improve things for safety so that kids aren't injured, and that in turn encourages people to go out there and do it more if they know that they can be safe doing it. So who do we partner with? We work with other departments within the county. The sheriff's office, Public Works Department does a lot of the construction part of these projects. We work in partnership with Intercity Transit and Thurston Regional Planning Council, which are coordinating efforts on a region-wide scale as well. We work with the prosecuting attorney's office because they lead the Target Zero efforts towards zero fatalities in our community from traffic. And we work with nonprofit partners, and of course with Safe Routes to School. We're talking about schools and school districts as a key partner in this effort. So we do help several schools and school districts here in Thurston County from the Health Department and Public Works and Sheriff's Office. And we're really trying to encourage safety and people getting more physical activity in their daily lives. So with that, I'd like to request that we do a proclamation.
Any questions or comments?
Tomorrow, we have Walk to School Day, right?
That's right.
And I'm going to be at Olympic View Elementary. And is that...
Great.
Why is that the school that we're focused on for this?
For this year, we're focused on Olympic View Elementary School in the North Thurston School District, and one of our school district partners is here in the audience, John Sisman from North Thurston Public Schools Transportation Department. We worked with the school district and a number of those other partners that were mentioned earlier to identify improvements in a couple different school areas within the northeast part of Thurston County. That included Lydia Hawk, where we completed a project a couple years ago, and just earlier this year, by the end of the summer, we had completed a construction effort around Olympic View Elementary. So there's an improved sidewalk and crossings, as well as some traffic calming to slow down vehicles, because that's a major factor in the severity of collisions and injuries that result from them. So we did a lot of that engineering effort, and this is follow-on to that to try to do encouragement and support and education around safe routes to Olympic View Elementary School as the school that got that improvement this year. And we've been in there doing presentations to assemblies, and I can tell you the students there are very enthusiastic about this Walk to School Day event.
Okay. But we're encouraging folks to walk to schools across the county, though.
That's true.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments?
Well, I guess this kind of fits in with my public service, where I've recognized that young people are 30% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. So I think anything we do that can enhance their ability to be successful in that future, including get to that future, is beneficial. And I won't say much more other than there was an article in the local paper about a conflict that we might have with the bureaucracy on accomplishing our goal for kids. And I'll just let it go at that. But I do have a proclamation that I would read if the board so desires. Okay.
Thank you.
Walk to School Month of 2019. Whereas the health, lives, and safety of the Thurston County's youth can be protected if communities take steps to make pedestrian safety a priority, and whereas a lack of physical activity plays a main role in obesity, diabetes, and other health problems among children, and walking or bicycling to school is an opportunity for daily activity, and whereas it is important for parents and caregivers to teach children about safe walking and to know about health risks related to travel, physical inactivity, and air pollution, and whereas community members and leaders should work together to construct missing sidewalk connections and improve street crossings in neighborhoods around elementary, middle, and high schools, and whereas Thurston Thrives, the community's initiative to improve the health of all Thurston County residents, identifies safe routes to school as a main community design strategy to increase opportunities for local residents to be active every day, and whereas Thurston County partners with school districts, Intercity Transit, Thurston County Safe Kids, Thurston Regional Planning, Washington State Department of Transportation, and other organizations to make improvements and provide safe routes to school programming at the many public schools in Thurston County. And whereas in October, children, parents, school employees, and community leaders from around the world are joining together for walk to school events to increase awareness about health and other benefits of walking to school, such as increased readiness to learn, reduced traffic congestion, and improved air quality. Now therefore be it resolved, the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners proclaims October as Walk to School Month and invites participation in Walk to School Day on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019, and encourages everyone to always consider the health and safety of children. Signed this first day of October 2019, your Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do you have anybody else in the audience who may wish to speak?
I'm not sure if Bernie Sisson would like to speak, but
But of
looks
course,
like
there
John
we go.
Sussman might want to speak.
I think Bernie's working her way up here, too.
Certainly would like them to be a
There
part
she
of
goes.
any photograph that's taken.
Oh, yeah.
John Sussman, North Thurston Public Schools. We have 22 schools in northern Thurston County, and I want to thank you for the proclamation, but I also want to thank you for the work that the Health Department does to support and motivate us in reference to our safe walk to school routes. Bernie Sisson and Scott Davis down at Public Works do an incredible job on designing roadways that have bike lanes, sidewalks, ADA approachable intersections so students can get on and off of the sidewalk. They have two major $1 million projects that he had just, Chris had just talked about. One at Lydia Hawk, $1 million project to make that neighborhood safer getting to Lydia Hawk. And now the completion of the Olympic View neighborhood safe walk to school route. They do incredible work, and I'm just here to say thank you for the proclamation, for the support, and for the work that's done here in Thurston County to make our roadways and our walkways to school safe. Thank you so much, Commissioners.
Don't go away, Johnny, or I mean, Mr. Sisman. What is it you do? Tell us what you do for North Thurston.
What do I do?
Yeah, what do
I'm
you
the
do?
transportation director. We have 125 school buses transporting 13,500 students a day in a 76 square mile area to the 22 schools that I just mentioned.
And how many years did you do as law enforcement officer?
I have 33 years at the Lacey Police Department, 2 years at the Criminal Justice Training Commission as the commander of the Basic Law Enforcement Academy, and I have taken a retirement job at North Thurston as your transportation director.
And the point of this, even as a commander with Lacey Police, your whole adult life pretty much has been public service and safety.
That's correct.
So that's why this is important to you, especially working for the school district and the transportation. It's the safety of the kids.
And our number one goal in transportation is student safety, bus driver safety, public safety. It's what we do. It's how we roll. So, yes, sir. Thank
I
you.
love that. So thank you very much. I didn't want that to get missed. And here we go.
Bernie's up.
Bernie.
Bernie Season, Thurston County Public Works. The proclamation actually is a big thank you for all of the people that helped us out with this Safe Routes to School project. The second one in Thurston County, it takes a village, and actually the whole village, in this case a neighborhood, is greatly improved by this project. So thank all of you and everyone involved.
Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you.
So we have a proclamation.
Oh, Bernie, you can't sit down, though. You have to come up here.
Yeah, don't go away.
Come on, John. Here. I'll
gets
pop
this?
this up. All right, come
You?
on. When she takes a picture, just to aggravate everybody. Come on, Bernie,
Get
get
in
over there
tight,
like
get
you
in
like
tight,
Chris.
get in tight.
I'll do
You
another
making
one.
a face?
Hey, you got to have some fun. Well, now you're going to take it without?
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Bernie.
Hey, Chris, wait a minute. I was just having a little fun. Here.
you're very welcome.
Come on. Well, that's okay. We got it. Good enough.
Yeah, I don't know. You didn't say that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it then.
At the start.
Oh, okay. All right. Now we're to the part of the agenda where it's the public's opportunity to address the Board of County Commissioners. Again, this is the time for the public to address the board. We don't, well, we shouldn't do anything but just sit and listen and not engage in question, answer, debate. So when I call you to the podium, please introduce yourself and where you live in the county and address the board and not the audience. Speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes to address the board. The timer's up here, and La Bonita Bomar has the button to start it and stop it. When you hear the ping at the end, that means your time is up. You're not allowed to donate your speaking time to another person. Please be respectful and nothing offensive. No hateful, defamatory, discriminatory, or inflammatory speech. Please silence your phones if you haven't done so already. No outbursts of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as a promotion for a for-profit business. Any and all material that is supplied to the county may be considered public record, subject to public release upon pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 42.56 of the RCW. Remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board are not appropriate as well. And so please, when you come up, introduce yourself and your address. And the first one up is Tara Cram. Next will be John Pettit.
Good afternoon. Is this set right? Okay. My name is Tara Cram. I live in rural Thurston County, just outside of the town of Yelm. And I'd just like to ask for a little bit of background information. Are all of you familiar
Thank you
with-
very much, ma'am. I'm kidding.
We had a little mistake.
So are all of you familiar with the Yelm City Council Task Force on Homelessness?
I've
I've
heard
got
about
one
it, read in the
yes.
paper.
That's it.
So, and are all of you familiar with the Ninth Circuit Court ruling on
It's okay.
Martin? I need some water.
Boise.
Martin versus Boise.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody's familiar with that? Okay. I'm a community member. I'm not a member of the task force. I am working with someone else in the community. We are looking at options that would be regional rather than just local to the city of Yelm. And we're already working with Sheriff John Snazza, and we have met with our state senator, J.T. Wilcox. So I'd also like to include the three of you. Oh, thank you very much.
This time won't be counted against you.
Thank you, much better. I'd also like to include the three of you in these conversations. The next meeting of the Yelm City Council Task Force is going to be on October 15th. That's a Tuesday, about 2 weeks from today. It's at 6:30 p.m. and it's in the Yelm Community Center, which is on 2nd Ave, right adjacent to the Yelm main downtown park. So I can provide you with some background information. If you're already familiar with Martin versus Boise, I am guessing I don't need to do that. I also have legislation that has been introduced here in Olympia regarding homeless rights, and that's another element that we're interested in addressing. Are you all familiar with that legislation? Or should I provide copies of that for you?
Ma'am, at this point, the commissioners cannot answer those questions. This
Right.
is your opportunity
can't
to
say
address
yes
the
or
board.
no?
No.
That
This is
they're
your
familiar
opportunity
with it?
to address
Okay.
the board.
Okay, so, okay. That's what I've come here for, is to keep you in the loop of what's going on, invite you and encourage you to participate. And I will be following through by scheduling appointments to communicate with you more detailed.
All
Thank
right.
you very much for your time.
Thank you. John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live out in East Olympia. I'm going to first open up and compliment. I enjoyed, cutting me short. I want to compliment the board on the morning session, the agenda setting session, and so many topics you dealt with, and some that seemed to be real difficult. I brought you some information regarding one of them because it only took me a short time to gather quite a bit, and that I think it may be useful for some of your further consideration about a property out off of Cooper Point Road. I found out about the typical well depths in case someone has to put in a well at about 140 feet. I have, and I'll be handing this all over, slope elements, soils elements, and as a person that happens to be a developer, investor, broker as such, I would tell you that the recommendation to do a little more study on it would be perhaps a very good idea. Any seller I know that I always want to have them prepared to know the information or to try to prepare things in a way that a buyer that would be interested doesn't just discount property because of the difficulties. From what my initial sight says, the only issue probably at all might be something to do with it's either going to be septic or water issues. And interesting enough, Tamashan out there has a sewer system, and it's about 1,200 feet down the road from where this property is. So that's another consideration if someone was actually going to buy the property. I'll be handing this over. But I think one of the things which I wanted to make from my brief talk this afternoon was that in order for people to make good decisions, you have to have abundant, good information. You have to be provided a full picture, and I'm not sure that the public has any concept of how many, what would be major decisions to them on an annual basis, how many you get to make of those every week. So suddenly you're provided a couple sheets of paper and you're supposed to make a decision regarding hundreds of thousands of dollars. And unless you have that information abundantly clear and good for you to actually study out, how are you going to make a good decision? Good decisions are made with good information. So I would encourage when there's an issue that comes up that maybe you feel a lack of information, slow down. I know that you get pushed a lot of stuff at you. Slow down. Wait till you're comfortable to make a good decision. Have all the things you need to know. Because Commissioner Edwards mentioned, I'm sure that all of you understand, every dollar you're dealing with, those are taxpayers' dollars. Those are people out here's dollars. And we do care that you guys especially pay attention to the budget and keep us in line. Thank you. I'm going to provide this over here.
That exhausts the folks that have signed up. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to address the board that has not signed up or already spoken? Anyone? 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 Okay. Thank you. That takes us to agenda item number 2, the county manager's update.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just have one update, and this related to correspondence that Mr. Pettit submitted to you last Friday, September 29, 2019, and where he highlights some areas related to special meetings and regular meetings of the Board of County Commissioners. I reached out to Mr. Pettit yesterday, and I thank him for providing that information, and certainly he makes good points. It's an opportunity for us to develop a comprehensive checklist as to how we can probably consistently apply all the many different requirements associated with your meetings, both special meetings and regular meetings. And also this is related to an item that I will provide you with additional information later on your agenda today. So I'd just like to circle back with on the correspondence that you received from Mr. Pettit. I reached out to him, and I provided an approach as to how we're going to be addressing some of the concerns that he highlighted.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the county manager?
No, sir. No.
All right, thank you. Agenda item number 3, is consent items A and B. And is there a motion?
Yes, I would move to approve consent items A and B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve consent items A and B. Any further discussion on those?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries. Thank you. Department items, agenda item number 4 is Public Health and Social Services and Ecology Interagency Agreement. And we have Art Starr here, Environmental Health Division Director. Hi, Art.
Good afternoon. I'm Art Starry. I'm the Environmental Health Division Director for Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. And I've got a couple of agreements for you to consider today. The first one has to do with something called, it's called the Local Source Control Program, but it's also known as the Pollution Prevention Program. And what this does is it provides grant funds to our staff to be able to work with businesses who handle hazardous materials and generate hazardous wastes to make sure that those are managed properly. And the concern there is that if they aren't being managed properly, they both can provide an immediate risk to the employees or the staff who are working with them, because some of these things are pretty nasty chemicals, and also to make sure that they're being managed in a way so that they're not being spilled either on the ground or on the surface of the ground, so that they can ultimately get into ground and surface water. So it ends up being a prevention program that's been very effective. The intent is to work with the businesses to make sure that we evaluate their practices. We work using materials that are provided by the Department of Ecology to help make sure we're being consistent across the Puget Sound region. And the idea is to educate and inform first, and then if need be, we can ramp that up to a more regulatory approach. But the idea is to really get people to understand what's necessary so that they can manage their materials and their waste properly. We've been involved with this particular program for a few years. Its predecessor, which was one we've been involved for years and years, has also been very successful. It was under a slightly different name. So we've been doing this for quite a while. What we typically do is focus on a geographic area or a particular business type and work with all those and develop the education and outreach materials so that we can be effective with them. We've done everything from working on businesses that handle landscaping practices and landscaping materials to you asked before about retail places. We've worked with stores that deal with hazardous materials and pesticides, big box stores, for instance. You'd be surprised the quantity of materials that are in those stores and how they manage them, and auto industries and different industries over time. This is funded through something called the Model Toxics Control Account Fund. It's 100% funding provided by the State Department of Ecology. This time it would provide us with about $175,000 for the next 2 years, ending at the end of the state fiscal cycle, so the end of June 2021. And so I'm asking you to approve this. It's something that we're relying on, and we think it's a very good program, and we encourage, again, your support.
Thank you, Art. Any questions or comments? Okay. Nope. Anything? Nope.
No, just for the public, we've been over this several times now in work sessions, and sounds like a real good program that the state passes us money down to deal with.
Ready when you are.
Okay. I would move to approve Washington State Department of Ecology Interagency Agreement, number C as in Charles, 20000031, that funds business pollution assistance activities to support small businesses for a maximum compensation amount of $174,485 for the period of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2021, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign this agreement and future amendments that do not change the approved dollar amount or duration by more than 10%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Nope. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries.
Thank you.
And 4B, also, Art, is Solid Waste Financial Assistance Agreement.
So this is another grant agreement that's also provided by the State Department of Ecology, and this focuses on local solid waste activities that we're required to do at the health department. So I think most people, when they think of things that health departments are involved in, helping people deal with solid waste, whether it's because they're worried about contamination of groundwater, worried about rats and rodents and other things like that. It really is a core public health activity. And in this case, state law also specifies that the local health departments have to fulfill this role as we try to work to help protect public health in the community. And so one of the things that the state does is they do provide funding to help us with that. It's called the Local Solid Waste Financial Assistance Program. And in this particular case, it funds local health departments to both investigate and permit solid waste activities, investigate whether permits are necessary, to follow up on complaints, and to help assure that, again, wastes are being properly managed. This grant provides about $170,000 for 2 years. That same grant period as the previous one. It ends at the end of June of 2021, and it's focusing again on solid waste enforcement activities. This particular grant, though, only provides 75% of the funding. We have to match it with 25%. We're fortunate here in that we are able to use some of the tipping fee monies that we receive from Public Works to provide that match funding. So it's still a good deal. It's giving us $3 for every one that we invest, and we actually need more funds than that to actually do all the solid waste activities within the county. So again, I appreciate your consideration of this and ask you to approve the grant.
Any questions?
No, I might add again that we've been over this several times, and this is quite a agreement number, I guess is the way I'm going to put it. So I'm going to use a little police jargon here for clarity, I guess, to make sure we don't get this wrong on our recordings.
See how fast you can go.
Okay.
Doing the phonetics.
So I move to approve Department of Ecology Local Solid Waste Financial Assistance Agreement, number Sam, William, Mary, Lincoln, Sam, William, Frank, Adam, -2019, Tom, Henry, Charles, Ocean, Paul, Henry, -00036.
Well done.
That funds the Environmental Health Solid Waste Program for a total eligible cost of $169,739.33 for the duration of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2021, and authorize the Public Health and Social Services Department Director to sign the agreement, as well as future amendments that do not change the dollar amount or duration of the agreement by more than 10%. And I might add, I would ask the county manager, do you want me to just do that with the alphabet and do it again, or do you
No, I
think
think you
everybody
got
got
it covered, Commissioner.
No, make them do it again.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we got that. Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see if we can get Ecology to change those names and make it a little easier next time.
Agenda item number 5 is the county manager.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration. Is for you to consider setting a public hearing for October 15, 2019 at 3:30 in the afternoon in this room, for you to receive public testimony for a proposed amendments to Thurston County Code, Chapter 2.02. RCW 3632080, parentheses 1, requires the board to hold regular meetings at the county seat to transact any business required or permitted by law. RCW 3632080, parentheses 3, authorizes the board as an alternative option to hold quarterly meetings outside of the county seat but within the county, if the board determines that holding a meeting as an alternate location will be of an interest of supporting a greater citizen engagement in local government, and if notice of such meetings is provided at least 30 days before the meeting. Also, RCW 3632090 authorizes the board to hold special meetings as provided by RCW 42.30.080 at the county seat. In addition, the board is authorized to hold the special meetings outside of the county seat if an agenda item or items are of unique interest or concern to the citizens of that portion of the county in which the special meeting will be held. Also, RCW 42-30.07 requires the board to provide the time frame of holding their regular meetings by ordinance, resolution, bylaws, and whatever other rule is required for the conduct of the business of the Board of County Commissioners. So the proposed amendment to the Thurston County Code 2.02 takes all the different requirements as stated by the RCWs and including into this code. So we put everything, all the state requirements into the county code. That will facilitate to be a little more consistent as to how we schedule, we notice your regular meetings as well as the special meetings. So the amendment to Thurston County Code 2.02 provides additional information related to public meetings under 2.020 and also adds a new section 2.022.025 which outlines the requirements of special meetings and joint special meetings as well. Have any questions?
Questions?
No, sir. Again, we've had other discussion on this, other work sessions.
Okay.
I would move to waive the 20-day legal notice requirement to establish a 10-day legal notice and set a public hearing for October 15th, 2019 at 3 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard in room 280, building 1 of the Thurston County Courthouse to formally receive testimony and consider changes to Thurston County Code Chapter 2.02 relating to the regular and special meeting times of the Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set a public hearing to amend Thurston County Code 2.02. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Nope. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Agenda item 5B, public hearing again.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. This particular proposal is for you to consider setting a public hearing for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019 at 5:30 in the afternoon here at the Courthouse Building Number 1 on room 152 for you to consider public testimony on an ordinance related to regular property taxes providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the county for a special election to be held on April 28, 2020, and a proposition authorizing the county to levy regular property taxes in excess of the limitations of Chapter 84.55 Revised Code of Washington. As a matter of background, the existing hilltop side of Thurston County government and the courts, including Building Number 1 and 6 and Building 1 and 3, were constructed in 1978. And the original, on the original complex is over 40 years old. During that time, the county also purchased building 4 through 6, which is located across the street. In 2015 and 2018, Thurston County conducted courthouse renovations and replacement comparative feasibility studies for the purpose of to provide the county with a long-term solution to housing court and other county administrative functions in an efficient and cost-effective manner. The existing buildings for county government and the courts in their current state are at the end of the useful life, costing significant taxpayers' dollars to maintain and operate. The current layout and design also makes it difficult for citizens to locate county resources and services in a timely manner. The existing layout of multiple buildings here at the courthouse makes it difficult to provide a safe and secure courthouse for jurors, victims, witnesses, county employees, and citizens as a whole. In 2018, the 2018 study, at the direction of the county, conducted further analysis on the following 3 locations. One at the existing hilltop site of the Thurston County government, and the courts. The second site was the Plum Street site, which was formerly the original county Olympia City Hall. And the third site was also on the west side, also known as the Harrison West, here in West Olympia. On April 30, 2019, the Board of County Commissioners held a board meeting where they approved this ordinance to send to the voters for April 28, 2020. since you have received public testimony, in an abundance of caution, the board decided to reopen the ordinance where it will allow you to revamp some of the elements of this particular ordinance, as well as to put a little more prescriptive direction as to what the ordinance is going to do. Also, you decided to hold a public hearing, although on levy left, you're not required to hold a public hearing, but again, in the effort to be transparent, you decided to hold a public hearing, and this is the proposal before you. Some of the changes that you have highlighted since the approval of the April 30, 2019 ordinance includes exceptions to qualified seniors, disabled, and veterans, and that is on the definitions pursuant RCW 4084-36-381. You also added on section number 2 the alternative purpose, and you clarify what the alternative purpose will be, that in the event that perhaps this project doesn't materialize for whatever reason, the Board of County Commissioners will have the ability to fund other capital improvement projects and any special bonds related to that as well. But before, you have to hold a public hearing before you take any action. Some of the key changes on that. Another change, a key change on the from the April 30, 2018, you remove delegating the authority to the county manager to finalize the local voters pamphlet, and you decided to keep that responsibility to the Board of County Commissioners, which you need to take an action on that before February 28, 2020. Also, you decided to keep that authority to select at least 3 members of each committee, pro and con, of this particular ballot measure. And again, you need to make a good effort in selecting a pro and against committee that at least 3 members will be in place. In that decision, you need to also take an action by February 28, 2020. If by any chance you are not able to secure 3 members on each of the sides, the pro and against committee, then the county auditor will have to make the same effort to provide that perspective to the voters. That is in essence some of the changes from the April 30, 2019 ordinance. And again, the request for you is to consider setting a public hearing for you to receive public testimony related to this new version of the ordinance. The version of the ordinance presented to the public does not change. The April 28, 2020 proposition that will go to the voters, that will remain the same as the April 30, 2019 ordinance. Any questions?
I would just like to emphasize what you said, that we're not required to have a public hearing, but we have chosen to have a public hearing to let the public, so we can receive input from the public.
That is correct.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate because we're making, I guess the impetus was about a procedural issue, but we've made a couple of substantive changes that would be appropriate to let the public weigh in on. So I think it's a good strategy.
I guess that was a pretty lengthy dissertation of what led up to this, and I'm going to try and clarify 2 things, and maybe you can clarify these for me. Just to clarify this for the public, if you will. The vote that took place in April in Rochester was a 2-to-1 vote, is that right?
That is correct. The majority of the board, where Commissioner Menser, Commissioner Hutchins voted in support, and Commissioner Edwards voted against that proposal.
And the one other issue, I don't know if it was clear or not, where you made reference to the money raised could be used for another facility should something happen, and we needed to make an adjustment there. But that was only on condition that the voters approve the vote in April, is
Yeah,
that correct?
that is the condition. Everything stated in this ordinance is conditional to the voters approving that measure.
Okay, that's all I want to clarify.
And the project becomes impracticable.
Yeah, and
That is a word with
yeah.
legal meaning, significance.
Thank you. So if I made the sequence of events, if you consider public testimony, you may consider approving this ordinance, then a ballot measure will go to the voters and considering a 47,000 valuation of additional property taxes. If that passes, then all the conditions is this ordinance applied. So the alternate purpose, as Commissioner Menser stated, is for any particular reason this project doesn't materialize, gives you the options to use the revenues of the levy left for other facility purposes, as long as you hold a public hearing first. And some of that's the nuances of the new language.
Okay.
Okay.
I should make them- Okay, I'll make a motion to waive the 20-day legal notice requirement, establish a 10-day legal notice, and set a public hearing for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter the matter may be heard at the Thurston County Courthouse Building 1, Room 152, to consider public testimony on an ordinance relating to regular property taxes, providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the county at a special election to be held on April 28, 2020, of a proposition authorizing the county to levy regular property taxes in excess of the limitations of Chapter 84.55 RCW, accepting qualified seniors, disabled, and veterans pursuant to RCW 84-36-381, and setting forth the text of the ballot proposition for the purpose of constructing a new courthouse and regional administration building.
I second that. And so it's been moved and seconded to set this public hearing. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No.
I would just reiterate that that public hearing is going to be on the October 22nd downstairs in room 152, not this BoCC
That is
room.
correct.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion carries. All right, now it comes to 5C, and that's the commissioner will report on board work sessions and assigned committees that we attended in the last week. Ty?
Wednesday, I had a chance to, as I mentioned this morning, attend a session of the Olympia Community Court to see the dynamic and how they're structured that. And we're trying to do a little bit of what they're doing at the county level with bringing in some treatment providers to court so that we can facilitate. But this is a more full-blown model where the treatment providers are there on various different, I mean, there's like 31 providers, and there's a session before the court where they connect up and develop treatment plans, and then they bring them to the judge. Pretty interesting model, and I'd like to look at it further, how it might apply to our county superior court and district court. On Thursday, I attended Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting at their invitation. Commissioner Edwards was there as well. We had a presentation on hemp industry, which I didn't actually even realize is taking off because of some changes at the state level, federal level. Right, making it not a controlled substance so that this industry can move forward. And so we got in, there were a couple of growers there who took us, I would say, very down into the weeds, no pun intended, of the calculations and the inspections and all the different processes related to that. So it's pretty interesting. Saturday, I attended the Thurston County Emergency Management Department's Emergency Preparedness Exposition at Peter G. Schmidt Elementary, and got to meet some folks and learn about some programs I didn't know about, such as the Special Operations Rescue Team that's multi-jurisdictional and has some equipment and some super volunteers that help do things like tree rescues and trench rescues, and so that was pretty cool. Yesterday, I had a meeting with the Chehalis Tribe Natural Resources Department folks about coordination with Thurston County on culvert projects and just kind of a mishmash of other topics, but primarily related to our culvert program. On Monday evening, I gave testimony to the Salary Committee because I was asked to do that, just so there's some brand new commissioners or whatever they're called, committee members who may not know what a county commissioner does, so I just kind of laid out the parameters of what we do.
Very good. Gary?
Clean water really was the bulk of my week last week, but I will comment on what Commissioner Menser said about our meeting with the Ag Committee. And I guess what I took away from there was the complications that a new business sees as it tries to get through the bureaucratic nightmare in developing a new activity that the federal government has said is now legal, which is growing of hemp for fiber or hemp oil, I guess, and not to be confused with THC or marijuana. They're two different topics, and it seems to be a very renewable resource that could fill the void for a lot of needs in our communities without maybe doing as much logging. And it was quite interesting to see the bureaucratic process that someone would have to overcome to make a profit in this state. So that, and maybe another highlight would be I met with the protectors of the Salish Sea over at the Capitol to discuss water quality issues, in which the concern is the Puget Sound in general, but in all of the rivers that flow into the Puget Sound that come out of the Cascade Mountain Range, where the timber industry applies all over the last 50 years, millions of tons of chemicals to those water bodies that then make it down into the Puget Sound, and I can't help but think that is very detrimental to the ecosystem in the Sound, hence all the way up the food chain to the orcas, if you will. And it was kind of interesting to hear that Kitsap County has put together a group and has pretty much opposed in their jurisdiction any of the chemical applications to the headwaters in their forested areas. So I'll be looking into that a little more. Anyway, I'll keep it short. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. I attended the Together Breakfast for Champions last week, where they celebrated the work of Erlise Swift, the founder of Together, back in the late 80s, and brought it to what it is today. And she was honored. Erlise is just a lovely lady, very smart woman. And Mary Sagawa, her successor, who's now moved on, was the speaker that introduced Erlise. It was nice to see Mary Sagawa again. I attended the Economic Development Council as a board member, and then attended the 11th annual Thurston Economic Development Council Real Estate Forum. Huge event, packed the room at the Hotel RL, and a very dynamic, interesting speaker from Seattle on economics, and it was very fascinating to me. And I received a letter or a postcard that is better than the Public Publishers Clearinghouse that says you might already be a winner. I have been summoned to jury service here, and we'll see how that goes. And then just moments before the BoCC meeting, I received my flu shot. Please get your flu shots. Flu season's coming. Now we'll move on to the county manager reviewing the Board of County Commissioners' schedule for next week.
Yeah, thank you,
This week and
Commissioners.
next.
Let me walk you through your upcoming combined meetings where at least 2 commissioners will be present. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. Here in a couple minutes, you have a public hearing where you will be receiving public testimony related to proposed changes to Chapter 1520 of the Thurston County Code related to apprenticeship requirements for public works projects. Tomorrow, Wednesday, October the 2nd at 9:30, you have a briefing related to the tourism promotion area where they're going to be presenting the 2020 budget. At 11:15 tomorrow, October the 2nd, you have the opportunity to welcome new employees to Thurston County government. Thursday, October 9th at 9:30, you have the commission's check-in, and an agenda will be available 24 hours in advance. 11:30 on October the 3rd, you have a team building event at the Falls Terrace restaurant, where you will be saying farewell to some of the Commissioner's Office staff, as well as welcoming new ones and new roles. And at 1:30 Thursday, October 3rd, you have your briefing from monthly briefing from Superior Court at 1:30 in the afternoon. Moving on to nothing on Friday, October 4th. Moving on to Monday, October the 7th. At 5:30 in the afternoon, you will hear public testimony on a public hearing related to the proposed 2020 budget adjustment. And at the same time, you will have a follow-up public hearing related to the update of Appendix G of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan, which is the 2020-2025 Capital Improvement Program projects. And then you will come back here on Tuesday, October the 8th. We will be reviewing the agenda for the afternoon board meeting. Also, you have a Board of Health meeting on October 8th as well.
Are you following through with this morning? You said you might be moving all of those agenda items from this morning to Thursday?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I will make myself available.
Does that bump other items out then? So, because the time hasn't been expanded?
Because usually the commissioners check-in is an open meeting
forum,
where you
okay.
have the opportunity to talk among yourselves and report on all the different committees that you serve. But considering that we have a packed agenda this morning, I'm going to be bringing those items for you to discuss on Thursday morning. And I
Okay.
will be sending the agenda for you, the draft agenda for you to review this afternoon before the end of the day.
Thank you, sir. Anything?
No, sir.
Yeah, is there any item for the good of the order?
No.
This meeting's adjourned. Now we're going to move right into the public hearing. This public hearing, the topic is to consider updates to Chapter 15.20 of the Thurston County Code related to apprentice utilization requirements for public works projects. And a little bit of background, the BoCC 2019-2020 priorities include increasing economic opportunity. In support of this priority, the BoCC is seeking to increase apprenticeship opportunities in the county by proposing changes to the Thurston County Code, which would increase the apprentice utilization requirement for public works projects from 10% to 15% of total labor hours. Public works projects are county construction projects estimated to cost $1 million or more. There is a sign-up sheet in the back of the room that you can add your name to if you wish to testify. You will have a total of 3 minutes to testify. The timer is up on the board. La Bonita has the timer. I'll be calling up the names for oral testimony. When you hear your name, please come forward to testify. Time may not be given to another person. I ask that you introduce yourself and where you live in the county. And the public hearing is to consider updates, again, to Chapter 15.20 of Thurston County Code related to apprentice requirements for public works projects. Now, this opens the public hearing. It's now open. Tim Wilson, our Water Resources Manager, will you please come forward, sir, and give us a background.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tim Wilson, Water Resources Manager, Public Works, and I have a very easy job today. I'm going to introduce Zainab Najati, who is a utility planner within Water Resources, and she's going to give you that background and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
So as the chair stated, the purpose of this meeting is to take public testimony regarding a proposed change to Thurston County Code, Chapter 1520, which would increase the apprentice utilization requirements for public works projects from 10% to 15%. And this was clarified before, but public works projects in this context are not projects completed by the Department of Public Works, but rather any county construction project with an estimated value of $1 million or more for construction value. Apprenticeship requirements for public works projects have been in place since 2008 and were established with Ordinance 14062. At the time, the board found that it was important to provide training and experience to individuals seeking to enter or advance in the workforce and increase the percentage of skilled workers in the construction trade. These proposed changes would increase those opportunities even further. To date, we have received no public comments regarding the proposed changes. We did receive 2 comments from internal staff, one of which would point out that there's a clerical error in the definition of apprentice utilization requirement. The word estimated was left off, so we need to fix that. And then the second comment notified us that there are actually some grant and funding streams which prohibit locally set apprenticeship utilization requirements. So we are going to work with the prosecuting attorney's office to craft some language that addresses that there needs to be an exemption for public works projects where the funding source prohibits local government from setting those apprentice utilization requirements.
Wow, okay. Any questions?
No, that's a clarification from this morning. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
One of those requirements are that if there's federal dollars involved in the project, then the federal rules supersede everything else. Is that right?
So that is not currently in our code, and that's the change that we're going to have to work with the prosecuting attorney's office to make sure that in cases where our funding stream prohibits us from setting our own local apprenticeship requirements, that they would be exempted from our ordinance 1520.
Okay, so we would be in compliance then. I guess that's my concern, that
Yes, we would then be in
we always
compliance.
remain in compliance so we don't have to pay something back.
Yes.
Okay, and we've went over this several times as well, so, okay.
Thank you very much. Apparently, nobody has signed up, but I'm going to ask the room full here in the gallery. Is there anybody that would like to address or testify to this that has not signed up? Anyone, anyone? Anyone? Anyone wish to testify? Anyone? Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I would move to close this afternoon's public hearing.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Meeting closed. Thank you.
And is there going to be any comments from the county manager at all on this? No?
No.
Okay. Okay, good enough. Usually, I thought he said, and I'll bring this to your attention.
No.
Such and such or whenever.